If you're thinking about buying a home in Raleigh, North Carolina this year, then you should watch this video first because we're gonna cover some of the top things that you should know about Raleigh before you buy a home here. Number one, Raleigh is growing very fast. Now, this is both a pro and a con, depending on who you ask. If you ask a local who grew up here, then they might tell you something along the lines of, it's changing constantly, there's too much construction, the roads can't keep up, there's not enough land to build houses on, the culture is changing. These are all things I hear on a daily basis. Now here's the good news. Because it's growing so rapidly, in fact, many sources have called it one of the top 10 fastest growing big cities in America right now. We are quickly attracting the attention of big corporations like Apple, for example, looking to put headquarters near and around the Triangle. We're attracting young professionals who want high-paying jobs or want to go to one of our top universities. And because of our great school system in general, we're attracting families who want to send their kids to the best schools. So every day I run into people from California, from Texas, from New Jersey, New York, Seattle, all across the US, coming from more expensive markets or just very different markets, looking for a change. They decide on Raleigh because it's fast growing, because it's so popular, because of some of the reasons we're going to get into later in this video. It's also attracting the attention of investors. I work with a lot of out-of-state investors who have never even been to the area, but they know that it's got the growth, they know that it's got the potential for appreciation, and as we continue to grow, a pro about Raleigh is that your home is very likely to appreciate in value quickly compared to other markets because of that growth. And of course, the downside there is, even though we're still an affordable big city, we might not be for long if we continue to grow at this rate. If you wait a year or two, and especially if rates drop, that's going to drive prices up. And this isn't just COVID growth. Before COVID, we were at a very strong growth level, and we're just above that right now, about 4 years later after COVID. The next thing you should know while we're talking about growth is appreciation and where the best appreciation is in Raleigh. Whether you're looking for an investment or you're just wanting to buy a home that doesn't go down in value, that is protected over the time that you own it. Across the Triangle, our appreciation is very strong, but if you're looking for the strongest appreciation, historically, that's going to be as close as you can get to RTP, that's the Research Triangle Park. It's our economic hub here in the Triangle. It's where we get our name from. It's also right by the airport. And historically, that area surrounding it, those are the best areas for appreciation because they're always desirable. Incomes are higher, they have the better schools, especially in the Cary-Morrisville area. These areas are kind of built out, right? Like we stopped building houses there for the most part, large developments about 10, 20 years ago. So the houses are getting older, the land is getting more scarce, and yet people continue to pay top dollar for older homes, and especially for the few new construction that's there because the location is so prime. The appreciation for Wake County, which I'll show a picture of that here on the map. It covers all of Raleigh, it covers Cary and many other suburbs here in the Triangle. That appreciation has historically been stronger than Durham County, which covers Durham. However, the increasing need for affordability in housing, and especially the need for new construction that's still near RTP, that's driving so many young professionals who maybe don't have kids or they're small families, retirees, you name it, to the Durham side of RTP because they know they can get affordable new construction. They know that they can save a lot on property taxes when they go into Durham County. The downside to doing that, of course, is that Durham isn't as uniform typically as Cary would be or Northwest Raleigh would be. Some complain that the roads aren't as good yet because they're still working on that infrastructure as people move in. But it's going to be a long time before they're able to really build those roads up, build shopping centers. They need more people to move into the area, and it's just going to take some time. Now, because of the high demand for proximity to RTP, that's where the most expensive real estate typically is going to be. So you may find that close to the airport, prices for houses are going to be easily in the 4s, 5s, 6s, and beyond, with townhomes even starting in the 3s and 4s. And the further that you go from RTP, the cheaper it gets. And then it just becomes a question of, do you have to commute to RTP? How long do you want that commute to be? If you're out in Wendell, North Carolina, you could buy a 3-2 new construction for about $350K. However, you're about 45 minutes easily from RTP. And there's not a lot of shopping and dining nearby. It's not really built out yet. It's got a long ways to go, kind of like Durham, but with a much longer commute. So these are questions that you're going to have to ask yourself and weigh the pros and cons of distance versus budget. The fourth thing that you should know about moving to Raleigh, and I hinted at this earlier, is that new construction is really hard to come by. So there's specific areas in the triangle that work better for new construction because there's more land. If you do want new construction in the heart of Raleigh, or you want it in the heart of Cary, then just know that it could easily run close to $1 million. It can easily run well above that too. And your options are going to be quite limited. If you want affordable new construction, that's where I suggest Durham 27703, or you go into Northeast Raleigh, you go into some of the outer suburbs like Wendell, some of Knightdale, down into Clayton. And if you're looking for new construction in the heart of Raleigh, that's in that inner belt, which is Interstate 440, that's our downtown. Most cities' downtowns are a little more built out because that's kind of their economic hub. Not so the case for us. So it's a little smaller. It's definitely walkable. It's cute. It has a lot of historic homes. So these are homes that were built in the 1900s, and they can easily get up there in price. Most of them are starting around the $700,000-800K range. Many of them are $1 million homes and townhomes and condos. Occasionally we'll get some tear downs that they build new construction up on. Those are slowly popping up in and around downtown Raleigh. But pretty much wherever you go in downtown, it's going to be quite competitive. The homes do go fast, so it is considered quite a desirable place to live. Other parts of the triangle that are competitive, this is the fifth thing that you should know about living in Raleigh, include Cary, Morrisville, now Apex, North Raleigh. These are some of the hot spots. Briar Creek, which is right by the airport. Again, these are the areas for the best appreciation. They have the highest demand. They're the most competitive. So what does that mean? During COVID, that was crazy times. Now, in today's market, we're talking about the average home getting about 2 or 3 offers on average. And in those specific areas, they're lasting about a week, maybe 2 max. If a home's lasting more than 2 weeks, we're probably seeing price drops. Now, across the triangle in general, on the outer suburbs, things are moving a lot slower. So it's very typical to see a home make it 2 weeks to a month. Occasionally, we'll see a home that sits for much longer and has several price drops, but that's still pretty rare. The average home is getting about asking. However, I've lost many deals in Cary, for example, where we went 40K over asking with super high due diligence. And the truth is, it's just still very competitive there, because not only are you going against families who really want the proximity to work, who really want the really good schools, Cary's well known for that, you're also going against out-of-state people moving from California, for example, and investors. So you can still expect to pay at least asking, if not well above it. You're going to need to have a strong offer, and it's probably going to take a few offers. Hope you're finding value so far. If you are serious about moving to the Raleigh area or investing here, then make sure to call the number below or just click that link in the description. Set up a time to chat with me and my team. In North Carolina, we do 3 inspections typically. So one would be your general inspection. Think about going to the doctor. They're not specialists in anything necessarily, but they're going to give you an overall health perspective and let you know if you need to look at anything deeper. The second inspection that we do typically is for your radon. So radon is a colorless, odorless gas. I'm not going to get into the nuances, but we test for that here. The third thing is termites. So we have a lot of trees. It's very wooded here in Raleigh, which I absolutely love. And so there are some termite scares. Now, termite damage, if you didn't know, is not like the cartoons. It can happen over a long period of time. It could take 10, 20 years just to go through a 2x4. But if the house is 50 years old and it's been unaddressed for 50 years, there might be some concerns. So we always test for those 3 things. Here we have basements, although they're not as common as they were in the past. And you'll also find a lot of homes that have crawl spaces instead of slabs. Any inspector will tell you they prefer crawl spaces because you can actually get up under the house, you can access the plumbing and electrical, versus with a slab. Your only choice is to dig underneath the slab and try to raise the house, which can create other foundation issues, and it's not easy access that way. And I will say, in my experience, although there are houses with foundation issues, it is way less common here in North Carolina than it ever was when I lived in Texas. And that is something that I definitely enjoy. Now, we have our own unique set of problems. So when you're walking a property, you'll notice most of the houses here are vinyl. Some have vinyl and brick. In Texas, it was all brick. But with our vinyl, depending on the age of the home, it might be a different material. So back in the 70s and 80s, they used asbestos siding, and this basically crippled to the touch after a certain period of time, it was not very waterproof. And so you want to make sure you know what type of siding is on the house. You also have to be careful because we have a lot of trees in Raleigh that many of the homes that we tour will have really tall trees. I'm talking 60-foot pines that are towering above the house. You want to make sure that it's not leaning towards the house, that you don't have a bunch of big branches over the house that are causing issues on the roof like mold growth or, falling on the roof and causing damage. You want to make sure that one big storm isn't going to take it down because we are coastal and sometimes we have pretty rough storms here in the Raleigh area. And because of those storms, a lot of our roofs also do get hail damage. So we have a lot of insurance claims every few years on the roofs here. So good news is they get replaced more often than maybe other states. Bad news is if you find a house that you like and it has hail damage, it has roof damage from the trees, that's something that you definitely want to get checked on before writing the offer or during due diligence so that you can negotiate based on that and make sure it's taken care of. This is something that you definitely should know about buying a home in Raleigh, and it's that we have a unique home buying process. So this is unique to us, and I believe just Texas. We're different from other states in that we have due diligence fee and we have the earnest money fee. So when you write an offer, you're saying, I want to offer $400K on this home with a $5,000 due diligence fee and a $2,000 earnest money fee. So to explain that, due diligence is what buys you the right to have the seller take their home off the market, to allow you unhindered inspections of the property for a set amount of time that's negotiated in your offer. So I might offer that $5,000 in due diligence, which goes straight to the seller when they accept my offer. And that's non-refundable unless they lie about something and you're able to prove that and get your money back. In most cases, even if you back out, you've lost that $5,000. So as a buyer, you want to do as low as possible, but as a seller, you want to see as high as possible. And as a buyer, if you want the seller to think that you're serious, then you do have to offer a certain amount to entice them to take your deal. And I have seen deals go through where the due diligence is what won them the offer, even if they weren't the highest offer price. And then your second fee is that earnest money deposit that I mentioned. In my example, we said $2,000. So that would go straight to the closing attorney once you go under contract, and they hold on to that till closing. It's totally refundable if you back out during your due diligence period, but as soon as that period ends, if you're still in the deal, then it belongs to the seller. And both the due diligence fee and the earnest money fee count towards your closing costs. So it's not an extra fee that you're paying, it's just paying up front so you have some skin in the game. Right now, what's working in our market is higher due diligence, lower to sometimes no earnest money. So sellers still want to see that you're serious. However, in the areas that aren't as hot, I've seen many deals go through where they're only offering $1,000 or $2,000 on due diligence. Basically, no skin in the game at all would make it very easy for you to back out of the deal. And it's not just the due diligence where buyers are having more power, it's asking for concessions, it's getting the home a little bit below asking if it's been sitting for a while, it's seeing a little bit more price drops. And yet our growth is still very strong, and it all depends on the areas that you're in. So if I were coaching you on writing an offer on a home in Raleigh, it would really depend on that neighborhood, on that specific area or suburb. It would be totally different in Cary or in Northwest Raleigh versus Northeast Raleigh or up in Wake Forest. It really would depend. And that's the biggest difference that we're seeing now versus obviously during COVID times, is a little more separation. And that's why it's important to have a good real estate agent on your side who knows those nuances, especially if you're coming from out of state. I am going to put my number down below. You can call or text anytime, or just click the link in the description, set up a free consultation with me and my team. So do that when you're ready. In the meantime, you can watch one of these videos next to learn more about living and investing in Raleigh. I'll see you there.